Hey guys, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm continuing my series on how to sing like. Next up is Ann Wilson from Heart, and if you guys wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be really cool. Don't forget to ring that bell so I can have new cool videos coming your way. And I have a singing course. It's called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. You can find it right here at KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com, where we negotiate and discuss all of these amazing places these singers, famous, legendary singers, have got into, and hopes to help make you great at singing as well. Now, I like to think of Ann as maybe being one of the greatest female rock legends of all time. And you guys probably agree with that, you out there that have followed Ann's career and Heart. Now, I want to say some things along the way, so I'm just going to be really crystal clear about her technique, really crystal clear about, the different approaches she's taking to singing. And I also want to show you guys something I think is really important, and that is I've picked out a smattering of different artists that I've worked with, KTVA vocalists, and I want to show you how, with my method, that these great singers didn't just, wind up opening up their mouth and being great singers. I mean, they had to work at this to become great. So I want to show you that with my technique, this is replicatable. Now, why is that important? It's important because you're going to find that there's a lot of information on the internet, and people will have all kinds of great advertising, and they'll tell you that you can do something in 30 days, or some guy claims to be the most popular vocal coach on YouTube and all this stuff. But read between the lines, get past the smoke and mirrors, and look and see if they are actually singing themselves, and if they display students singing that prove out their method. This is really important because as we get into this, I'm going to showcase quite a few of my singers where we're taking on some of the greatest, most difficult songs to sing in all of pop and rock history, and we're going to do it now. So when I think of Heart, I did a What Makes This Singer Great, and I did one on Ann Wilson. I'll put that in the description, and I'll also put all of these various singers, the full video, so you can check out the full videos. I'll put that in the description also, so you can check it out. But I think of Heart in two different parts. I think of the 1970s Heart, and then I think of like the 80s, 90s Heart, that came out with Ron Nevison producing a completely different, more commercial sound. But they're both great, and they're both timeless, and of course, the Heart's gone on to do some things since then. But I'm going to start with earlier Heart, and I'm going to start with one of my clients, one of my students, Sarah Loera. Now, Sarah is a really cool story, by the way, because Sarah actually was doing a lot of bartending, and so she just wanted to learn how to sing, and she wanted to be able to do it professionally. So we connected early on. I had a band called Ballroom Blitz Cover Band, and she was actually kind of dabbling around with a punk band at the time. I think they were called Sweet Nothings or something, and even before that as well. But she didn't really take herself that seriously, to be honest, as a singer, as didn't I. I started out as a guitar player. So it's a real cool story where she applied herself. Then she went over to Asia for a whole year, and she did a lot of five-star hotels throughout Asia. She stayed there for a long time, honed in her craft. Then she brought it back to America. We worked quite a bit over the years, and we picked off a lot of different diverse styles of singing. So you'll see Sarah not just sing Ann Wilson, but you'll see Sarah singing Klaus Meine or even Dio or Steve Perry, and then turn her right around and do Karen Carpenter. We've done, holy cow, Stevie Nicks, she's awesome at. I mean, we've done just a plethora of different things with Sarah. So it's really cool to see how not only this method works within one style that's great and difficult to do, but how you can morph this style into a lot of different styles. So I'll try to go ahead and post like all the stuff that I've done with Sarah so that you can see the different styles of Sarah and how well this technique works. So with that said, here's Sarah Loera, and we're talking Barracuda. Here we go.
So this ain't the end, I saw you again today. I had to turn my heart away. Smile like the sun, kisses for everyone, and tales it never fails.
Pretty cool, huh?
You're lying solo in the weeds. I bet you're gonna ambush me. You let me down, 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 down on my knees. Now won't you, Barracuda?
Cool. Now, you can tell where she's going with this. I mean, she's not missing a note. We just put up the microphone and we sing this stuff so you guys can actually see how effective these methods are. Now, Anne sings with a lot of nasality, and she's very far, you know, you better get it, you better try under the wind. Now, won't you, Barracuda? Right? She's got a lot of diaphragmatic support, so you can hear the power and the strength in her voice, and it's really even. You never hear her kind of, waver in the strength of her diaphragm. Now, in her early days, she didn't show off that much range. In fact, if you look at some of the 70s videos that she has of, Barracuda, Magic Man, some of the other stuff that she did early on, she doesn't sing with a lot of range. It's really interesting. She grew into a lot of range over the years and just became a range queen, but back then she didn't really do that. Look at some like Cal Jam, I think it was, and some other stuff where she's not showcasing a lot of range. So we put her in two camps, the 70s camp and then the 80s, 90s camp. Now, this song's kind of interesting. A little backstory to this. I mentioned in the What Makes This Singer Great. This was a diss on a record company, a chick at a record company that, was all lovey-dovey, kissy, hey, let's do lunch, babe, kind of thing. And she wrote a song about this girl because she stabbed her in the back, and there was a rumor floating around that Anne and Nancy were an item, if you can believe that, as sisters, because they thought that that would boost record sales. So it pissed Anne off so much that they turned around and wrote a song about her and called it Barracuda. So anyway, with that said, there's that. By the way, I have to wear spectacles these days, you guys, so if you can bear with me. Next up, now I'm going to go through different singers. So I'm going to showcase another singer, and they're at various stages of their growth as singers. So the reason I want to do this way is it's not that everyone has just arrived. So if you're expecting perfection on everybody, you're not going to get it. What you're going to get is pretty close, and you're going to get to see the different personalities that come in but are still really, really consistent. So I want to use Sarah again to show how she did 70s Anne, and then we're going to move on into 80s, 90s Anne. So here we go. We're going to do What About Love, and this is Sarah Loera again. Check it out.
I've been lonely, I've been waiting for you, I'm pretending, and that's all I can do. The love I'm sending ain't making it through to your heart.
Now, a couple things about this. Now, Sarah doesn't have quite the roundness and girth and just warmth in the large, sound that Anne has. Sarah's a little more on the Donna Summer side. She's a little more masked, a little more in front of the face, and she's got kind of her own thing going. So we're not looking to sound exactly like Ann Wilson. That's not the point of this. The point is to show that we can take these voices, very different, unique voices, have a lot of the influence of Anne, be able to stick it and sit it pretty spot on like Anne, but also bring our own character and our own style and uniqueness along for the ride. So that's really important. I wanted to point that out.
You've been hiding, never letting it show, always trying to keep it under control. You've got it down, and you're well on your way to the top. But there's something that you forgot. What about love? Don't you want someone to care about you?
Pretty close, right?
What about love? Don't let it slip away. What about love? I only want to share it with you.
Okay, now I'm going to stop this because I want to talk a little bit more about Anne's technique instead of just sharing stories and whatnot. So Anne actually sounds a lot more like a theater singer. She really over enunciates the vocal tracks. What about love? Don't you want someone to care about you? Right? So it's pretty dramatic in the sound. Now, I heard early on with Ron Nevison, not so much in the early 70s Anne stuff, but the Ron Nevison era, Never and Alone and all these different songs, that he wanted everyone to understand what she was saying. So she really kind of went out of her way to really project and sing so that the person in the last row in the theater setting, so to speak, could really understand her articulation. Well, okay, that's cool, except it's hard to do that because the more you manipulate the vocal tract and the more you have large distances to get from one vowel to another vowel, the more difficult it becomes to be able to sustain that in the throat. Now, Anne's really good at it, but if you notice, she kept a lot of nasality in the front of the sound. So, I've been lonely, it's all I can do, right? So she's very forward in the sound. She doesn't go, I've been lonely, and that's all I can do, right? Which is more of an operatic sort of sound. So as much as we'd like to think Anne might sound a little on the operatic side, she definitely is not when it comes to that kind of technique. So an opera singer or someone with my background like bel canto, even though I can get people into this space, I prefer to start with a bel canto background or arpeggio, operatic background, because if we start larger on the sound, we can always hone it in and narrow down the sound. But if we're always narrow on the sound, it's really hard to open up that sound. Another thing, Anne uses a lot of caprino vibrato. So, it means goat squiggle. Now, it's her style and it's what's really given her signature sound. But at the same time, that's actually not really a healthy vibrato. It's worked for Anne. We'd showcase it, and we've done it in our videos, because if we didn't, we wouldn't sound like Anne. But we actually can manipulate different vibratos for different styles of singing, but what we really want to end up with is a natural vibrato. Now, I cover all that in my singing course, but let's move on to Aliona. I've worked quite a bit with Aliona early on. Aliona did have a great voice. I'm not saying I'm taking credit for Aliona's voice at all, but I'm saying I helped her a lot with open throat technique, some pitch issues, some stamina issues, a lot of diaphragmatic issues, and also a lot of enunciation issues because she's Russian, and she has been able to sing almost undetectably in English on some things, not on everything, but on a few pieces. So in this particular case, it's never, and let's check it out. Here we go.
Stop yourself and listen. Some things you can never choose, even if you try. You're banging your head again, cause somebody won't let you in. One chance, one love, your chance to let me know.
Cool. Before the chorus goes on now, I want you to pay another real close attention to something that Aliona does. Aliona comes at it where her mouth is really small and it's closed down in this position. Now, she's able to open up some of the vowels, but you can tell her struggling a little bit to match the big widespread sound of Anne. But something she does do that's correct that we worked a lot on is, if you notice and watch really closely to Aliona's videos, she drops her tongue just like all my other students. Katie's going to be an example of this. Sarah's an example of this. Aliona's example. I'm going to break out Ziomara, and you're going to see all of my singers where they drop the tongue and they create maximum space in the back of the throat in order to be able to achieve this open throat technique in these sounds. So let's get to the chorus.
We can go on just around.
Now, she knows she was one, but that's not the way Anne would have done it. And we can go on. She's real. Just to run away. If we wait any longer, we will surely never get away. Right. Anne's a lot more spread, pharyngally spread in the sound. But this, again, she's singing in her style and she's putting her own unique spin on it. So.
Don't wait. If we stay any longer, we will surely never get away. Whoa, whoa. Anything you want, we can make it happen. Stand up and turn around. Never let them shoot us down. Never, never, never run away.
Now, some other things I had worked a lot with Aliona on is she always goes, she brings us out like way up in here, and it's been really hard. I want her to dry. Never. Right, I want to open up that sound just a little bit more. So anyway, that's Aliona. She's done a fantastic job. She has a lot of great stuff out on YouTube. The next person that I want to bring into the mix here is Katie. Worked a lot with Katie. You know, things that Katie has really come a long way on is her stamina, her pitch. Whew, we worked hard on the pitch. And then she's just really applied herself, man. I've been working with her for a couple years. You know, this didn't happen overnight, but maybe even a little longer than that, actually. But she's really applied herself to the Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy method. Check this out.
I've been lonely, I've been waiting for you. I'm pretending, and that's all I can do. The love I'm sending ain't making it through to your heart.
Now, what I like about Katie the most out of all of these, Katie and Sarah, especially right now in this mix, and everyone excels at different things, is that Katie is really applying everything. She's applying open throat technique. She's applying the abdominal strength. She's got the bright timbral sound that I'm looking for. She's not using too much air in the sound. And she's really going after starting first with the bel canto operatic style of singing first, and then narrowing that sound and pharyngally spreading it, I should say, to get into Ann Wilson's sound. But we've done a lot of very diverse things with Katie. So, I mean, if I were to put in the description all the stuff I've done with Katie, I'll try to do that. But you're going to see everything from ballads of oh my gosh, Sarah McLachlan, to AC/DC and Led Zeppelin. I mean, we've done a whole gamut with her, which is really cool. Now, I've done that with Gabriela Gunchikova too. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff with her. I didn't have Gabriela in this mix because I didn't do a heart song with her. But you're going to see that's yet another student of mine where Gabriela has really applied the Ken Tamplin method also. So let's continue to listen. Here we go.
You've been hiding.
Watch the back of the throat.
Never letting it show. Always trying.
She's using both. So she's always trying, right? It's tucked up in the back, and then she brings it into the front of the face, rather than like in Aliona's case, it's very narrow and pushed out. She's really big on the sound, which is exactly where we want to be.
You got it down.
I did open throat.
On the way to the top, but there's something that you forgot. What about love? Don't you want someone to care about you? What about love? Don't let it slip away. What about love? I only want to share it with you. You might need it someday.
Okay, now still though, again, in fairness, Anne's voice is still bigger on the bottom end than these girls. Now, the exception to this is Gabriela Gunchikova. If I had her do this, because we worked for about 4 or 5 years on her voice, she has all that girth and warmth in the bottom end. Whereas we're still working together on maintaining that. But what it is the resonance of the sound. When you work resonance correctly, that big, warm, round sound comes in over time. If you don't, it becomes really thick, and it sounds like there's cotton stuck in the back of your throat, and you don't get the clarity of the sound. There's a very famous bel canto term. It's called chiaro oscuro. So it means you have brightness with warmth around it. So it's not just the brightness or not just the fatness and the warmth of the sound. You get both the brightness and clarity and the big harmonic warmth and resonance that comes along for the ride. So let's continue. Now I want to move on to yet another student. This is Xiomara Crystal. Xiomara came to me quite a while back. I did my master's program, and check this out.
I hear the ticking of the clock. I'm lying in the room's pitch dark.
She has some of the warmth.
I wonder where you are tonight. No answer on the telephone. And the night goes by so very slow. Oh, I hope that it won't end, no. Alone. Till now, I always got my own. I never really got it till I met you.
I mean, you can hear it. She's just got a big, nice, round sound. Now, her approach is more on the operatic side, though she came more from a theater background. Now, I believe when we did this video, she was like 21. She'd been studying with me for almost 2 years and didn't have anywhere near this bigness and roundness and all of the belting, big, fat stuff. But this sister can also sing a ballad too. So again, it's been a privilege to work with these gals that are willing to apply themselves and really, dig in and do this. So I want to go ahead and do another Katie version. Now, the reason I'm doing this, guys, is I want to show you that all these chicks are stepping up to the plate, and you can tell that there's a similarity in the sound of the technique itself, but they're unique. As they're applying it to themselves, they maintain their own uniqueness, but they all have the Ken Tamplin sound, if you know what I mean, right? Here's the same thing.
I hear the ticking of
This is
the
Katie.
clock. I'm lying here, the room's pitch dark. I wonder where you are tonight. No answer on the telephone.
Now, also one more thing. Katie is Swiss German, so she's from Austrian, actually, technically, but so she has a German dialect that she has to overcome, just like Gabriella had a German dialect, just like Aliona has a Russian dialect. So because of the dialects and different things, Russian is it's like a really close, throaty, almost constricting sort of sound. So we have to really spend some time opening it up, even like in Aliona's case. And I'm not making fun of people's nationality at all. I'm just pointing out their language. So in Russian, it's like, I must break you do things like this and like that. And we go through things like this. And so we have to overcompensate for these kinds of things that where you kind of feel like you're gargling down the vowel sounds that go into the throat. And we got to cover for these. So we have to literally, and let's make fun of Italians. Hey, I tell you right tonight, I tell you again, now shut your mouth. So there's all these differences, in Asia, it's everything so small, everything, and we must make a sound open longer, or we have Swedish people, so everyone has a challenge if they're looking to sing in an English dialect. I know I probably just offended a lot of people. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to be kind of funny, because we all have challenges to overcome, and these chicks stepped up to the plate big time and be able to really open up these sounds to be able to sing like this in the English language, if that even matters to you. Okay, so I wanted to point out, some of the things they had to overcome to do. And by the way, speaking of Xiomara, yeah, she's speaks well in the English language, but she's also Portuguese, speaks Portuguese. And her family is also from Austria, so she's Austrian German, so she speaks German too. So these gals have got a lot of head knowledge going on. They're really amazing women.
And the night goes by so very slow. Oh, I hope that it won't end though alone. Till now, I always got by on my own. I never really cared till I met you. And now it cheers me to the bone. How do I get you alone? How do I get you alone?
Cool. Okay, so if you notice that open throat technique, it's like you could kind of take any one of these girls and put them in that slot. And you'd like, wow, they all have that big, round, consistent, perfect intonation, beautiful tone. It's round, it's robust, yet it's powerful. It's bright when it needs to be. All the vowel sounds are there. There's nothing out of place, right? And that's an art. I cover that in my singing course, how to sing better than anyone else. I'm going to close with one more with Zio again, one more heart tune, so that you can see this doesn't happen by mistake or just by some random chance thing. These gals worked at it, and it's a very specific roadmap on how to get here. So
I've been lonely, I've been waiting for you, I'm pretending, and that's all I can do. The love I'm sending ain't making it through to your heart.
pretty cool, huh?
You've been hiding, never letting it show, always trying to keep it under control. You got it down, and you're well on your way to the top. But there's something that you forgot. What about love? Don't you want someone to care about you?
Effortless.
What about love? Don't let it slip away. What about love? I only wanna share it with you. You might need it someday.
Cool. So again, as you can see, man, this didn't happen by mistake or chance or accident somewhere. These gals worked on it, and it's through the technique that I teach, Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. Now, I'm doing most of this by request, guys, and the people are giving me the most difficult singers of all time, saying, "Hey, can you show us how your technique works?" It's stacked up against the most difficult songs to sing in all of pop and rock history. And I don't do it just with one singer or two singers. I had 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, go on the site. We have like, I don't know, 800, 900 videos now to see how this works out. So anyway, gang, thank you for joining me, and check out my next video.